Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation. As we wrap up the first quarter of 2024, many of us have been overwhelmed by the absolute smorgasbord of fantastic AAA titles. And while the indie scene has been a bit quieter than usual, there's still plenty of great new games that may have flown under your radar. And that is what we're talking about today. So hit that like button and subscribe if you love finding new indies to play, share this video to help us spread the indie gospel, and let's take a look at the 10 highest rated Nindies so far this year. Christian Whitehead and team delivered the arguably best Sonic game with 2017's Sonic Mania, and after forming Evening Star Studio, their first release, Penny's Big Breakaway, released on February 21st. And it's a bit of a mixed bag. This 3D mascot platformer wears its inspiration from games like Mario Odyssey on its sleeve, but it's actually much more of an homage to similar titles from the 32-bit era. Playing as the titular Penny, you hop and bop your way through 11 worlds, each containing 3 or 4 stages that are filled to the brim with secrets to find and fun, vibrant visuals that continue to one-up each other as you progress through the ridiculous story of escaping a king who is understandably angry after you accidentally pantsed him in front of his entire kingdom. With your magical yo-yo, which is cleverly named Yo-Yo, at your side, you've got even more movement abilities than Cappy provided in Super Mario Odyssey. You can attack, spin yo-yo in circles, air dash, swing from invisible grappling points summoned out of thin air, and even ride around on yo-yo with a spin dash that tells you all you need to know about this game originally starting life as a 3D Sonic pitch. However, with so many abilities and context-sensitive gadgets scattered about each level, there's a lot to learn here, and I wouldn't be surprised if many players, like I did, became frustrated right out of the gate. In fact, I'm still torn on just how I feel about the game because when it hits, it's an absolute joy. But frustrating deaths are common, and even the truly unique elements, like enemies chasing and clinging to you versus more traditional platformer baddies, have just as many pros as they do cons. The game looks and sounds great though, with a superb soundtrack by T. Lopes, and the recent performance patch did make a world of difference on the Switch. But really? I think the game needs a demo more than anything else, since its regular price is $39.99. Let me know what you think of Penny's Big Breakaway down in the comments. For me, I say it delivers what it sets out to accomplish, and I have every intention of finishing the story, of which I'm currently about halfway through. But make sure to research it more for yourself, because I think the audience here is gonna be a niche of its own. And for those who do find what they're looking for, they'll probably have a great time. So far, the game that absolutely stole my heart in 2024 is without a doubt Berserk Boy, and I wholeheartedly give it Nindie Nation's highest recommendation. Another game with a killer soundtrack by T. Lopes, you might look at this and see Mega Man, but it's actually much closer to Mega Man Zero, with, oddly enough, a bit of Sonic mixed in. Berserk Boy follows a familiar structure with worlds that have bosses which will give you new abilities, but this time there are more stages mixed in between, and instead of a new weapon, you earn one of 5 new forms that completely change how the game plays both through combat and how you maneuver about the world. For example, in the form you'll likely use the most, you have a dash that stuns enemies, then charges up a burst of electricity for a follow-up attack. You'll use it to move fast and clear gaps, and it deals the most effective damage against enemies and bosses. In the fire form, though, you deal more damage up close and can burrow into the ground. And in the wind form, you can freely fly about the stage to search for more hidden collectibles, so long as you continuously gather energy pellets. All of these forms, plus a couple more, make the game very replayable, with about 3 hours of content to reach the end and up to another 3 of revisiting stages with your new abilities to unlock new areas and collectibles, which are all needed to see the game's true ending. The game's artwork and overall vibe is fantastic, and brings a level of nostalgia that only the best 16-bit games could, while simultaneously being gorgeous and new all in its own way. Honestly, Berserk Boy feels like what Mighty No. 9 should have been. With its fast, momentum-based platforming and combo system, simple yet rewarding exploration, and a well-told, fully voiced story that will encourage you to see everything it has to offer. Released back in March for $20, I'll say again that Berserk Boy easily earns Nindie Nation's highest recommendation, and there's a demo you can check out for yourself to see if you feel the same. We're only 4 months into the year, but as it stands right now, I find it very hard to believe that Berserk Boy wouldn't make my top 5 list once 2024 wraps up. Lords of Exile is the latest love letter to classic Castlevania, built for fans who love, and I mean really love, those original 8-bit adventures. That means it is not like, say, Infernax, where it adds a bunch of modern comforts to an RPG-centric experience. Rather, Lords of Exile sets out to recreate the traditional, level-based Castlevania, complete with its slower-paced movement and knockback that punishes even the slightest of errors. Squidbit Works clearly knows what they're going for here, and they definitely deliver on their vision. But without the added bells and whistles, I personally found the balance of challenge and progress a bit too frustrating for my tastes. I typically lean towards the faster action found in Ninja Gaiden-type retro action platforming, and to that end, I'd say the best way to think of this game would probably be by comparing Lords of Exile to Castlevania, just as we did 2021's Cyber Shadow to Ninja Gaiden. If you're up to the challenge and prefer a methodical, refined, and traditional throwback, that's exactly what you'll find here with Lords of Exile. And then that troublesome old veggie is up to his antics again. After evading taxes in 2021, we now see a whole new side of his shenanigans as Turnip Boy robs a bank. Released back in January, this time, instead of continuing the top-down Zelda approach, it's a straight-up twin-stick shooter. And I gotta say, kudos to the team at Snoozy Kazoo for trying something new, because it seems to have been the right call. Still chock full of puns and genuinely hilarious gags, the story picks up right after the original left off with about 5 hours of top-down twin-stick shooter action that fans of games like Enter the Gungeon or Trigger Witch will definitely enjoy. If you're new to the series and you like top-down adventures, you should probably start with the original tax-evading adventure, as it's frequently on sale. But if you've already committed tax evasion and just want some more veggie-fueled fun, Turnip Boy Robs a Bank has earned a solid 83 on Metacritic and the coveted overwhelmingly positive badge on Steam. However, my favorite little curiosity on the Switch so far this year is without a doubt Geometry Survivor by Brainseal Limited. If you happen to be a gamer of a certain age, you may remember the Xbox 360 launch title Geometry Wars. Well, mix that aesthetic with the progression of Vampire Survivors, and that's exactly what we've got here. And for as burnout on the genre as I've become over the last year or two, I really dug this vibrant, arcade-inspired score chaser. And boy does it look great on the Switch OLED. Most runs can last up to 20 minutes, with perks and ships to unlock from the currency you'll earn, but if I have one complaint to lob at this game, it's that there's only one level. So I found myself running out of new things to see and do after just a few hours. That said, it is only $5, and simply wanting more of a game is usually a pretty good sign. So if $1 an hour at full price is a good enough value proposition for you, and it's been a while since you've dabbled in this genre, consider checking out Geometry Survivor. If you ever had a chance to play Golf Club Wasteland, now called Golf Club Nostalgia, you probably fell in love with the cool, calming atmosphere of the post-apocalyptic Earth, which is now used exclusively as entertainment for the ultra-wealthy. Well, in January, Demagogue Studio expanded on that universe by releasing The Cub, a 2D puzzle platformer not unlike Inside, Limbo, or even Oddworld. And this time you play as one of the only humans who didn't escape Earth during the mass extinction, but actually ended up surviving it and growing up among the wilderness. If that sounds like some kind of sci-fi version of The Jungle Book to you, yeah, you're on the right path. And with the same vibes as Golf Club Nostalgia, but mixed in with a bit of danger as you're occasionally chased down by unknown G-men, The Cub was pretty well received by those who wanted to spend a little more time in this universe. If you happen to dig these puzzly cinematic platformers, you should definitely have this game on your radar. And if you do end up enjoying the world as much as I did, there's even more of it to explore with the even more recently released Highwater, which is an exploration adventure with turn-based combat. And frankly, I think we should support developers who make such well-developed worlds that can be experienced in so many different ways. Those of us who remember the original Super Mario Bros. Movie might recall a time when Nintendo was much more loosey-goosey with their intellectual property. What with the cartoons, the merchandise, and of course, the hilariously awful Legend of Zelda games for the Philips CDI. But what if those games were actually good? That's what the folks at CDI Software set out to answer with Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, and I'll be damned if they didn't knock it out of the park. Featuring the same purposefully low-budget animation and 2D action puzzle platforming, with an intentionally corny story riffing on its inspiration, Arzette must save the land of Faramore from the evil clutches of Dimer, in an adventure that takes about 4 hours to complete. If you don't have the nostalgia for Zelda the Wand of Gamelon, there's still a super unique game here worth experiencing, though maybe it's worth waiting for a sale. However, if you do see this game and are immediately interested, know that Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, is well worth adding to your Switch library. But you know, sometimes you don't need to save the world. Sometimes you just want a witty, colorful game that will make you think just as much as it will make you laugh. If you're a fan of games like Sort the Court, or just like exploring your inner god complex, I can't think of a better way to do so than with Hilltop Studios' Lil Guardsman, which also happens to be the second highest rated indie so far this year. Playing as a spunky 12-year-old who's taking her dad's place at the castle gates, your job is to talk to every person who wants entry into the kingdom and decide if they should get in or not. Social deduction games are not a new thing, what with Papers, Please being the most well-known example, but Lil Guardsman is the only one I can think of that is not only available on the Switch, but is also so lighthearted and charming. You'll learn a few tools over time to help you figure out who deserves to get in and who might be lying, but even if you make the occasional wrong choice, that's all part of the fun. And hearing all of the fantastic voice acting is a big part of the game's replay value, even after the 7-hour story's conclusion. This one did seem to fly under the radar a bit more than some of the others on this list, but one look at its 85 on Metacritic should tell you that even those who haven't tried a social deduction game might want to give this one a shot. And then we round out today's video with 2 of the year's highest rated indies that I have yet to play. So I reached out to some fine folks in the Nindie Nation Discord, and here's what they had to say, starting with Andrew from PlayCritically.com. From solo developer Riv Hester of REC LLC and the quirky Devolver Digital publishing juggernaut, Pepper Grinder follows its protagonist Pepper, a girl with aquamarine hair, as she pursues a band of thieves who have stolen the treasure from her wrecked ship. To aid in her mission, Pepper's equipped with a grinder, which is a handheld drill that propels her through soft earth like she's swimming through water with a jet engine. Levels are filled with incredible platforming moments, where Pepper uses the grinder's momentum to reach heights her legs cannot, glide through curving tunnels connected by daredevil leaps, and use her grappling hook to ricochet across gaps. At their best, levels become an out-of-control train ride, with the player only just keeping the engine from derailing. With 19 levels and 4 bosses, the overall package may feel a little slim, but these levels contain the tightest and most exhilarating platforming design we've seen so far this year. Each level contains 5 hidden coins as well as time trials, where memorization and flawless use of every trick in Pepper's book is mandatory to obtaining the gold trophy. As one of the most intriguing indie projects since it first appeared as a concept GIF on Twitter years ago, the final product, while rather short, does not disappoint and makes Pepper Grinder a worthy addition to any Nindie fan's digital collection. And finally today, with the highest rated indie so far this year, Troidal Power from the Power Playthroughs podcast and Geek To Geek Media says I'm a big old dummy for not playing Balatro simply because I don't play poker. He continues. Balatro looks like a video poker bloatware program you would have purged from the computer your parents picked up from Circuit City in 1996.
Wow, it's like he's talking right to me.
But beneath its chunky CRT-filtered pixels is an incredibly addicting deck builder. You start a run of Balatro with a standard deck of cards and a score to reach by playing any standard poker hand. Each card has a point value, with each hand also giving points and a multiplier. The fun comes between rounds in the shop, where you can find a wild array of augments that change how the cards or hands are scored. In the beginning, the best hand you can play is a royal flush, but by the end, you could have a build based all around a simple pair and any cards that are red. So a deck chock full of 2s of hearts could score far more points than that royal flush could have ever imagined. Throw in some of the most satisfying visual effects and sound design in the genre, and this game is built all around the joy and satisfaction of breaking its mechanics wide open. And even better is how well it nails that just one more game vibe, as even when you lose to a boss,
Yes, there are bosses, and they are all jerks.
you'll immediately want to jump back in. Troy wraps up by talking some shit about me for saying,
I don't play poker.
but then redeems himself by reminding all of us that Balatro actually has a lot more in common with games like Slay the Spire, as it includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Well done, Troy. I gotta say, he's making a good case here, but what do you think? Let me know down in the comments if you've played any of today's games, and if you're adding any of them onto your wish list. And don't forget to come join us in the Nindie Nation Discord to talk about them even more. Thank you to Andrew from PlayCritically.com and Troidal Power from the Power Playthroughs podcast and Geek To Geek Media. If you want to see what else those two are up to, I'll link their respective outlets down in the description, and know they'd both appreciate you stopping by. And of course, thanks to all of you for stopping by today. If you found something new to play, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more weekly Nintendo Switch indie updates. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been another Nindie Nation video, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.